On the outskirts of a small, unremarkable town stood an old, dilapidated mansion, long abandoned and shrouded in local legends. The mansion was a shadow of its former grandeur, its windows shattered and its once lush garden now choked with weeds and creeping vines. The moonless sky cast an inky darkness over the estate, making the mansion appear even more foreboding. For decades, the townspeople had whispered about the Eerie mansion. Rumors spoke of ghostly apparitions and strange noises that emanated from its crumbling walls. Despite the stories, no one had dared to venture inside for years, until one fateful evening. Lila, a curious and intrepid journalist, arrived in town with a single goal: to uncover the truth behind the mansion's dark reputation. She had heard tales of inexplicable phenomena and was determined to document her findings. Armed with a flashlight, a camera, and her unwavering courage, Lila approached the mansion as the last vestiges of daylight faded. The mansion's front door creaked open with a groan, revealing a dust-covered foyer bathed in the dim light of her flashlight. The air inside was thick with the smell of mildew and decay. Lila stepped cautiously over debris, her heart pounding with anticipation. As she explored the mansion, she found herself drawn to a grand staircase that spiraled upward into darkness. Each step she took seemed to echo louder than the last, amplifying the silence that enveloped the house. At the top of the stairs, Lila discovered a series of rooms, each more unsettling than the last. There were faded portraits with eyes that seemed to follow her, and furniture draped in sheets that looked like specters frozen in time. In one room, Lila found an old diary lying on a dusty desk. Its pages were yellowed and brittle, but as she carefully turned them, a chilling story began to unfold. The diary belonged to Eleanor Gray, the mansion's last resident. Eleanor had documented strange occurrences in the house: flickering lights, disembodied voices, and shadows that moved on their own. Her last entry was a desperate plea for help, begging someone to find and destroy a dark relic she had hidden somewhere in the mansion. Driven by a mix of fear and determination, Lila scoured the mansion for the relic. She followed clues from Eleanor's diary, leading her to the basement, a place she had avoided until now. The basement was a labyrinth of old storage rooms and cobwebs. As she delved deeper, she found an old chest hidden behind stacks of rotting furniture. Inside the chest lay an ancient, ornate box with symbols carved into its surface. Lila hesitated but eventually opened it, revealing a small, obsidian amulet. The moment she touched the amulet, a cold wind swept through the basement, and the lights flickered ominously. Suddenly, the mansion seemed to come alive with activity. Lila heard the distant wail of a woman's voice and saw shadowy figures flitting through the corners of her vision. The air grew colder, and the oppressive atmosphere seemed to close in on her. Panicked, Lila clutched the amulet and fled the basement. As she exited the mansion, she felt an overwhelming sense of relief. The mansion seemed to quieten behind her, as if a dark force had been momentarily appeased. Lila left town the next morning, leaving the mansion, and its secrets, behind. The townspeople soon noticed a change. The air around the mansion seemed lighter, and the whispers of hauntings faded. The mansion remained, still old and eerie, but the darkness seemed to have lifted, at least for a while. Lila's story made headlines, and while many were skeptical of her account, those who knew the mansion's history took comfort in the idea that its dark secrets had been uncovered, if not entirely resolved. The mansion stood as a reminder of the unknown and the power of uncovering hidden truths, even when they come from the shadows of the past.